President Rodrigo Duterte on Wednesday says the Philippines will withdraw from the International Criminal Court effective immediately. Duterte says the Philippines will withdraw its ratification of the Rome Statute, the treaty which created the ICC. But the Rome Statute says a state party's withdrawal from the ICC can only take effect a year after the written notification of the withdrawal is received by the United Nations Secretary-General. Duterte disputes this, saying the withdrawal should take effect immediately because the agreement was supposedly fraudulent to begin with. He says the Philippines was made to believe that the principle of complementarity shall be observed, that the principle of due process and the presumption of innocence as mandated by our Constitution and the Rome Statute shall prevail, and that the legal requirement of publication to make the Rome Statute enforceable shall be maintained. Duterte's declaration comes over a month after the ICC started preliminary examinations on the complaint filed against him in connection with a high number of killings under his war on drugs. Last month, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Duterte welcomed the ICC's examination of the drug war because he is sick and tired of being accused of the commission of crimes against humanity. Duterte again insists the ICC does not have jurisdiction over him. He says Rome Statute was never published in the official gazette and thus was never effective in the Philippines. The official gazette is the official journal of the Republic of the Philippines. Duterte is likely referring to Article 2 of the Civil Code, which states, quote, laws shall take effect after 15 days following the completion of their publication either in the official gazette or in a newspaper of general circulation in the Philippines unless it is otherwise provided. In August 2011, a press release about the concurrence of the Senate on the Rome Statute was published on the official gazette, which only carries Philippine laws and executive issuances. Duterte says that because of the supposed non-publication of the Rome Statute on the official gazette or a Philippine newspaper, an international law cannot supplant, prevail, or diminish a domestic law. He also says the acts he is being accused of committing are not acts under the jurisdiction of the ICC. Duterte also accuses the ICC and the United Nations of being politicized. He cites criticisms made by UN officials like UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein and Special Rapporteur Agnes Calamard as evidence of international bias. Zeid earlier said Duterte should undergo a psychiatric evaluation because of his foul attacks on UN rapporteurs like Calamard, who the Philippine leader threatened to slap if she investigates his drug war. Duterte also calls out the ICC for supposedly prematurely announcing its preliminary examination, which created the impression he will be charged in the International Court. But it was Malacanang which first issued a statement confirming the ICC's preliminary examination on February 8. The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group of the Philippine National Police urges the Justice Department to remove self-confessed drug lord Kerwin Espinosa from its witness protection program, citing hostility and lack of cooperation. CIDG Chief Roel Obusan says he sent a letter to Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre in September last year, asking the DOJ to remove Espinosa from the WPP. This was just a month after the preliminary investigation on the drug charges against Cebu businessman Peter Lim and his alleged accomplices started. Espinosa retracted his confession that he was involved in the Central Visayas drug network during the preliminary investigation. He made the confession under oath before a Senate panel probe in November 2016. Obusan says Espinosa supposedly turned hostile and uncooperative when he was asked to speak out against Lim. This was enough reason for the CIDG to exclude Espinosa's retracted statements in their case, heavily relying on testimonies by Lim's aide, Marcelo Adorco. The DOJ panel tasked to review the CIDG's case against Lim, Espinosa, and their accomplices later found Adorco's statements to be unreliable and eventually dismissed the case. The CIDG has since filed a motion for reconsideration. Obusan also says the PNP will use its new subpoena powers if the DOJ junks its motion and dismisses the drug charges against Lim and Espinosa.
Kapag ma-dismiss ito, we will work hard again. We will use all available tools of investigation, and one of that available tools is discipline of power. And definitely, I will use that so as to have justice.
President Rodrigo Duterte earlier signed Republic Act 10973, which gave subpoena powers to the PNP through its chief and the CIDG's top 2 officials. Navy Chief Robert Empejad says the Philippine Navy will use Korean supplier Hanwha Systems Combat Management System or CMS for the 2 frigates it ordered from Hyundai Heavy Industries. Empejad makes the statement during his confirmation hearing before the Commission on Appointments Wednesday. He says, quote, "It's a done deal. HHI already signed the contract with all subcontractors for equipment like missiles, torpedoes, and other important subsystems." The Philippine Navy originally wanted Tacticos Thales to be installed in the frigates, but in the end, the Defense Department chose Hanwha Systems. There was controversial fine print in the agreement stating that HHI has the final say on the subsystems to be installed in the warships. HHI also earlier told the government that it should pay more if it wants Tacticos. Empejad, who initially pushed for Tacticos, eventually agreed to use Hanwha. He says the signed contract made him change his mind. Empejad also denies being pressured or influenced, even after the Office of Special Assistant to the President Bongo called for a meeting upon the complaint of a Korean to discuss the contract at a time when the contract was at an impasse over the CMS supplier. Empejad claims he and other members of the Navy just presented the advantages of Thales and Hanwha to then Undersecretary Lloyd James Lau. Segura has resigned as National Youth Commission chairperson. Two Rappler sources say Segura formally resigned on March 5, but his resignation will be effective on April 5. They say Segura stated personal reasons as explanation for his resignation, but the Malacanang source says President Rodrigo Duterte has yet to accept Segura's resignation. According to a source, Segura has been planning to resign for some time now. The singer-turned-government official was supposedly not happy with the bureaucracy and was frustrated with the slow pace. Segura served as NYC chief for over a year and a half. Duterte also appointed Segura's partner, Liza Dino, as Film Development Council of the Philippines chairperson. Segura and Dino actively campaigned for Duterte's presidential candidacy during the 2016 elections. As NYC chairperson, Segura championed HIV/AIDS awareness and youth representation in government through the embattled Sangguniang Kabataan. The NYC also opposed the postponement of barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections scheduled this May. Physicist Stephen Hawking dies on Wednesday at 76. No cause of death has been announced. Hawking was known for his groundbreaking work with black holes and relativity. He was also the author of several popular science books, including A Brief History of Time. Hawking suffered from a rare early-onset slow-progressing form of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. His condition gradually paralyzed him and left him confined to a wheelchair for decades. Hawking eventually communicated using his trademark voice synthesizer. His work focused on bringing together relativity, the nature of space and time, and quantum theory, how the smallest particles behave, to explain the creation of the universe and how it is governed. Hawking was also unafraid of ruffling the feathers of the religious, dismissing the concept of an afterlife in a 2011 Guardian interview. He said, quote, "I have lived with the prospect of an early death for the last 49 years. I'm not afraid of death, but I'm in no hurry to die. I have so much I want to do first." Hawking added, quote, "I regard the brain as a computer which will stop working when its components fail. There is no heaven or afterlife for broken down computers. That is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark."